Hello, and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm working on a scrapbook layout for a girl that I used to sponsor in Mexico. I'm making her a photo album because she has grown up and moved out of the home that she lived in and is now out on her own. So I wanted to make her a photo album of the pictures that I have collected of her since I started sponsoring her. So the pictures I'm doing today are of her quinceañero. And in Mexico, a quinceañero is their 15th birthday, and for girls, it's like their coming out party. And so they wear a really fancy dress and have a cake that's kind of like a wedding cake. So I wanted to make this very sophisticated. The girl that I sponsor really likes black and red, so that's why I chose this. Plus, also, I think black looks sophisticated and matches her dress. The paper I'm using comes from 49 and Market, their Color Swatch Charcoal Collection. And the frames I'm using come from the Rouge laser cut elements. The great thing about the 49 and Market papers is you can tell there's already mixed media look to the background, so you wouldn't even really have to add any mixed media to give it a polished look and also have some sophistication to it. But I'm going ahead and marking where my photo frames are going to go so I can add just a little bit of mixed media to give it another dimension. I'm using some Nuvo Quicksilver Glacier paste to stencil on some hearts onto two of the corners, and I think that'll give it a little bit of sophistication and bring the silver into the layout since she also had silver in her birthday theme. And the stencil I'm using is just one I had cut out on my brother's Scan and Cut with hearts on it. Of course, you could use whatever stencil goes along with the paper or theme that you're going with when you try to make a layout. I used some of that press and seal on my Glacier paste to keep it fresh. And what I like about the Glacier paste, it's kind of like a glitter glue, but it doesn't dry out so much like a lot of the mousse or paste do. So this is not quite the same. It's more of a glue than it is a paste. So I think that's why it doesn't dry out so much because I've had this one for a couple years. Now, if you're new to scrapbooking and don't have too many supplies, don't feel like you have to go out and buy everything like I'm using. I'm using what I have. So just see what matches the layout that you're doing and use whatever paste you have. If you have a white paste, you could color it with ink, like the kind you add to the stamp pads. Or you could rub your stamp pads on the side, like I've done that before, and then just mix your paste over that to get it to be another color. Or you could do ink blending if you don't have paste. When I started my second corner, I turned the paper around upside down so that I can reach the corner better, and also that way I was less likely to get my arm and the paste that I already applied. I decided to add some distressed mica stain, so I'm shaking up my frozen fog, and then I spray that onto the two different corners. If you've never done mixed media, these two products were really easy to use and they dried quickly, so it really doesn't take you too much time to add the stenciling and the spray to the layout. And it really adds some sophistication. I think it really looks gorgeous with the silver. Off screen, I adhered my photos to the frames using double-sided tape, and it lucked out that they really were the perfect size for these frames, except for the lower right-hand one. I only had to trim that down just a tiny bit to fit the frame. I'm using mounting squares to attach my photos to the page, and I put some post-it tape over the people's faces for privacy, just for the video. I used this sketch from a cherry on top for this layout, and it came from their weekly sketch challenge, and if you participate in that, you can post your picture of whatever layout you do to their website, and then you earn cherry points, what you can use towards purchases. Anyway, they had that as a weekly challenge, and this sketch is really simple, so it's great for a beginner. And sometimes when I use sketches, it doesn't fit so perfectly. I don't have photos that really always go with the sketches, but for some reason, I just happen to have these three that went perfect with the sketch. And then I'm using the elements from that Rouge laser cut elements from 49 and Market, and these vines look perfect for the sketch. So even though it's a simple sketch, it does look very elegant. I use Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive to adhere my elements to the page. Now I'm adding my title, which is Canciano, and of course I had to look that up to make sure I was spelling it correctly. I'm just using this quilting ruler and the lines on my glass mat to help me keep them straight. I always have to use a ruler because even with that, I don't always get the letters straight. I'm using black sticker alphabets from Creative Memories, and these are older, so I don't even know that they make these anymore. They're probably from 20 years ago. I didn't have that swirly thing, I don't know what it's called, that goes above the N in Spanish, so I just took a curly cue that came with this alphabet and trimmed it down to look like the one that goes above the N. At this point, my layout looks pretty much like the sketch, and you could stop here, but I decided to add 3 more clusters, and I wanted to add a cluster to one corner of each of the photos, and that way it would create a visual triangle. And I'm using elements from the Rouge Laser Cut Elements package, using the flowers, button, and a butterfly for each of the clusters to get it cohesiveness, and also bringing out more of the red and the green. And I added green to this layout because there's so much green in the photos. I think adding these extra embellishments adds a little bit more sophistication and interest to the layout, and actually making this look really gorgeous was simple with the products that I use, especially with the 49 in Market, with their paper and these elements. I use my Nuvo Deluxe glue to adhere all the elements down to the page. As a final embellishment, I'm adding Pearl Satin Pops of Color. This comes from Scrapbook.com, and it's sort of like the Nuvo drops. Now, in the past, I had trouble. They kind of form peaks, like the little swirl on Dairy Queen ice cream. And I guess you're supposed to be flat like the enamel dots. And I was having trouble with it, so I wasn't sure about maybe giving up on it. But I see someone else where she tapped the paper from behind and they flattened out. So I tried that, and it really did work well. And I love how they look on this project, so I will be adding more of them in the future. Now I just added them in groups of 3 just to make a visual triangle. I'll put a list of all the products that I used in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my channel. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And if you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. And that will help you be notified about any future videos for some more inspiration on getting your photos in a scrapbook, and hopefully give you some ideas of what to do for your scrapbook pages. At the end of the video, I'll have some links to other videos that you can watch for some more crafting and scrapbooking inspiration. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.